Welcome back. This is John Locke, and today I'm answering a question that comes in from my friend Bridget. She got this question from another person. This is an excellent question, and a lot of people have this question. I've heard variations on this a few times. The question is, does Google rank an article higher depending on who wrote the article? In other words, does Google know who an author is, and will it rank them higher based on who they are and their knowledge of that subject? The answer, the short answer, and I'll give a more detailed explanation in just a second, is Google does not and cannot reward a particular author in a particular subject, and does not rank you higher just because you are an expert and you've established this pattern. And I'll break it down in more detail. But what it is tied to is the track record of the website itself, the domain name, the website itself, and not the author. And there is a few, actually more than one, but a few important reasons for that. So let's go into why Google does that, and then we'll go into the author part. Well, the first part, it rewards the website, the track record of the website itself. Does this website put out articles, resources, pages that seem to satisfy people? That is something that they can measure. As we talked about before, they don't measure things like time on page or bounce rate or things through Google Analytics, but what they do probably measure, because they have said on a couple of occasions that they have a means of measuring the user journey from the search all the way to them going to your website and being on multiple pages end to end. The only logical conclusion to that is, if they don't use Google Analytics, is that they use Google Chrome. Now, do they know that people are satisfied with a page? Yes, they probably do. Not only can they tell, if people are probably happy with a page and it deserves to rank higher, and if your website has enough of those, then it's going to trust that you're an expert, that your website is an expert in that subject, and they're going to push other similar articles from your website further up. One of the reasons would be, that user signals, and maybe they're doing things like getting conversions, spending a lot of time on their page. They actually have patents on all kinds of weird things, like making mouse movements in a particular way that signals that people are satisfied with the page. They have patents on biometrics, like using a camera or different things to use facial recognition to tell if you're satisfied with the results on the page. But most often, what they're doing, in most likelihood, and I've been able to replicate this in other fields, in a whole different bunch of diverse fields, and get good results with it, is they're looking for a pattern of things that appear in other pages that appear to satisfy the user. So there will be a pattern or an overarching, what they call vector. I'll put a link here to what that is, but a pattern of things that appear in a page that seem to satisfy the majority of people who are doing that search. So if you have those, then you're probably going to rank high. And if you have links to the page, obviously you got to have links to the page. That's going to be a factor, and links to the website itself. Without those, you're not going to do as well, because those are also part of the overarching pattern, or what they call a vector. Now, why does Google not reward individual authors for their knowledge and their PhD degree and their expertise in the field? Now, a lot of misconception has come from this because of the Google Rater Quality Guidelines, in which they've mentioned EAT, which is Expertise, Authority, and Trustworthiness, and they've been rather vague about what that means or how they measure it. And this has been going on for about 6 years. And again, there are other marketers out there that have a whole side business getting up the EAT. Now, we've done videos going back all the way to over a year ago of people complaining about this in SEO forums of like, we got a PhD doctor or whatever to write these articles for, I think one of them, it was like they were selling orthodontic products or they were selling toothbrushes or whatever. And if you look at the results on the pages, the things that rank the highest, it's stuff like Crest and Oral-B, and I think there are some other ones, the American Dental Association, things like that. Those sites are ranking all at the top. But basically, this was an e-commerce shop, and they had heard about EAT, and they wanted to hire an expert and write their articles, and they're like, we're getting no more traffic. In fact, our traffic is going down. The sad fact is, okay, think about how Google engineers have to deal with the problem. The problem is there's literally billions of websites, and every couple of years that number is like doubling. So conceivably they're having to deal with billions and billions and billions of websites, okay? And they have to judge which sites or which pages on those sites they're going to push to the top and put at the top of the rankings. So this is something that they cannot do with just individual humans. Like in the early days of the web, like the Yahoo directory was human curated. The what they call it, the ODP, the Open Directory Project, originally DMOZ, that was human curated. Well, the web is so big right now that these things are very difficult to scale. So they have to do it via algorithms and machine learning. So they want to be able to write a process or many algorithms that, like little streams and tributaries, run into a big river, which is the ranking algorithm. They all combine into this one thing. They don't want to have to sit down and try and judge like who's an expert and who's not in all these different fields of knowledge, because no one human could even do this. Determine like this person's an expert and this person's not. That person's kind of an intermediate person, but this person doesn't know anything. Okay? The algorithm cannot do this because it is not even as smart as a human being. The quality rater guidelines there are the human quality raters, like who grade the search results according to certain criteria, are there to guide the engineers in writing the algorithms until they get the ranking algorithm picking results that would be similar to a human. Okay, but they can't do this at scale. There's no way for them to determine like you're an expert and you're not in every single field, in every category of human knowledge. It just can't do it right now. There's no way to do it. There's a second reason why they would not do this. Say like, oh, if this person wrote this, it's going to rank higher. Now, it would be very easy for someone to just go in and slap somebody else's name and somebody else's author bio on your article and say that this famous person or this PhD person or this, world-renowned speaker wrote this article. It would be that easy. Now, you would know the difference, and that person, might or might not find out and might or might not say anything. And but how does Google know the difference? Google would not know the difference. So that's a big reason why it's not attached to individual people. You can't take a site that has poor design, poor UX, no links, and no track record of having expertise, and then put an expert PhD world-renowned speaker article on there and expect it to rank, because it's not going to happen. But if you have a website that has a track record of providing articles that satisfy users and has a ton of links and has good user experience and good design, and a ton of people go to it all the time and get value from it, then pretty much Google is going to say whatever's on this site is obviously something that we could trust, so we're going to give that a little bit more trust than if it's just on this random other site. So it's not connected to authors because it's easily gameable. They can spam the system. They could slap somebody else's name on it. Google would not be any the wiser. Now, you might shake your head at that, but the truth is, in SEO, people will do anything and everything to cheat the system if they can. There's just too many people that think like this, and any signal that can be gamed is a bad signal, so they don't use that. Okay, so how would you leverage your expertise as a expert in your field, a world-renowned person, been doing it for 20, 25 years, whatever? The same way that anybody else would. You would look at what is currently ranking and go from there. Look at what's ranking and look at the breakdown of each of those articles. Look at the breakdown of each of those pages. What is covered there? Now, there's a good chance that there's going to be similar themes in many of those articles that are ranking. In fact, I know this to be true. There will be similar themes. There will be things that appear in the majority of those articles that need to be in your expert written page. And that goes down to other things as well. If there's other supplemental pieces of content like an image, video, table, graph, whatever, include those things too. So look at the breakdown of the page, because you have to think about it like this. Google engineers are trying to work with problems at scale, and they have a limited team to do it with. So they're writing computer algorithms to basically look at a pattern of what's made people happy in the past. Does your article fit a similar pattern? Now, you can variate on this for sure, and you shouldn't just like copy paste stuff, because that is not going to be good either for you. That's going to be a derivative, and that's probably something you shouldn't do. But what you can do, you can bring original research, original data, but make sure that you hit the points and the themes that are appearing in these other articles, because really, at the end of the day, that is what Google is looking at. It's not looking at this person must be an expert because humans know this. How does Google's ranking algorithm know that? You really think that they know that every single human, what their skill level is, what their experience level is, how many years they've been doing it? The ranking algorithm does not know these things. So just remove that concept from the concept of EAT and think about how Google might measure EAT if they were trying to deal with 2 billion websites and they have a very small engineering team. Think about how they would solve that problem at scale, and this all starts to make a little bit more sense. So I hope that answers your question. My name is John Locke. My business is Lockdown Design and SEO, and I'm here on a pretty regular basis making videos on SEO, answering questions. So if you have a question, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to see us get to 1,000 subscribers, and we are definitely on the way. So my promises to you is I will be posting here regularly all the time, and not going to take big breaks or anything like that. So please subscribe. That's all for now, and until next time, peace.